Title: Nnamdi and the Witch of Umueke. In the heart of Umueke, a quiet village in Imo State surrounded by palm trees and lush farmland, lived a young boy named Nnamdi. At just 15, he had already experienced more hardship than most. His mother, his source of love and joy, had passed mysteriously a year ago, leaving him alone with his father, who worked as a humble palm wine tapper, and his stepmother, Adamma. Adamma was no ordinary woman. Whispers had followed her from her own village, a strange beauty with piercing eyes that saw too deeply, and a voice that sent chills down spines. No one dared say it aloud, but in Umueke, it was known that Adamma was a witch. When Nnamdi's father, Umueke, first married Adamma as his second wife, he hoped she would bring peace to his home and help raise Nnamdi. But soon after her arrival, strange things began to happen. Illnesses, accidents, crops withering unexpectedly, and animals vanishing. Umueke's first wife, Nnamdi's mother, grew weaker each day until she finally passed away under mysterious circumstances. Nnamdi was certain that Adamma was responsible, though he had no proof. Now, with his mother gone, Adamma turned her gaze fully on Nnamdi. Each day, she found new ways to torment him. Sometimes, she would leave herbs that burned his skin when he touched them, hidden in his bed. Other times, she'd serve him meals that tasted bitter, warning him in a low voice, "Eat it all, Nnamdi. Growing boys need their strength." Nnamdi would toss the food away, too afraid to eat it. One night, Nnamdi overheard Adamma muttering to herself outside his room. He held his breath and listened as she spoke to something unseen in the darkness, her voice like a hiss. "He must join his mother," she whispered. "If he stays, he'll ruin everything." Fear gripped Nnamdi, but he knew he couldn't tell his father. Umueke was exhausted, spending long hours tapping palm trees for the villagers and selling their fresh, sweet wine. He barely noticed Adamma's darkness. Nnamdi knew he was alone. Desperate, he sought advice from an old herbalist, Mama Ifeoma, who lived at the edge of the village. She was a wise woman, feared but respected by everyone. When Nnamdi told her of his suspicions, she listened in silence, her wrinkled face unreadable. Finally, she reached into her bag and handed him a small, carved amulet. "Wear this, my child," she said. "It will protect you from some of her magic, but it will not be enough. You must learn to stand against her, or her spirit will never leave you in peace." The amulet became Nnamdi's only source of comfort. That night, he wore it to bed and felt a warmth around his neck, a gentle presence that made him feel protected. But Adamma's wrath grew stronger. She sensed that her magic was being resisted, and her fury turned into madness. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the village, Adamma confronted Nnamdi by the river. Her eyes were wide and wild, her hands trembling with barely contained rage. "You think you're safe," she spat, her voice low and venomous. "Your mother couldn't protect herself, and neither can you." With a sudden gesture, she cast a handful of black powder into the air, muttering words in a language Nnamdi didn't understand. A dark mist rose around them, and Nnamdi felt a cold, suffocating dread pressing down on him. His body felt heavy, as if invisible hands were pulling him into the ground. But just then, Nnamdi remembered Mama Ifeoma's words, he had to stand against her. Summoning all his courage, he touched the amulet and began to speak, softly at first, then louder, reciting prayers his mother had taught him. The air crackled, and the dark mist seemed to falter. Adamma's face twisted in fury and disbelief as Nnamdi's voice grew stronger. "You are nothing but a coward hiding in shadows," he shouted, clutching the amulet tightly. "My mother may be gone, but her spirit lives in me, and I will not let you harm me." With a final scream, Adamma's spell shattered. She stumbled back, her eyes burning with hate. In the distance, villagers began to gather, drawn by the commotion. They arrived just in time to see Adamma, her face twisted with anger and fear, retreating into the shadows. From that night on, Nnamdi felt his mother's spirit close by, protecting him. Adanma kept her distance, too fearful to approach him directly. Over time, the villagers grew wise to her ways and stopped visiting her. Isolated and shunned, Adanma's power faded, her influence waning as the people of Umueke came together to protect Nnamdi and banish her dark magic. Nnamdi knew his life would never be easy, but he had faced his greatest fear. His mother's memory and the amulet's strength remained with him always, guiding him as he grew into a man who would one day protect others, just as he had protected himself from the witch of Umueke.